So, we're going to talk about your cycle on a fitness journey. I'm going to go over every phase of your menstrual cycle and exercise during that phase, and then also foods and what is best to eat during that phase. So, these are the 4 phases of a menstrual cycle. We have menstruation, which is normally days 1 through 5. We have our follicular phase, which is normally 6 through 14. Ovulation, which is 15 through 19. And then we have our luteal, which is days 20 through 28. I'm also going to touch on menopause briefly at the end, because I know that there are many women in here who are either perimenopausal, premenopause, or you're in it. So we'll touch on that. And I know we have these days, they can be different. You might have 3 days of menstruation. You might have a longer follicular, but this is, as many of you know, the science of how our bodies are meant to work. Many of you are nurses or working in healthcare. You probably know a lot of this. And that's the funny thing is often we know things, but we don't really practice it. And so that's where the education piece comes in so strong. It's those little reminders, those tidbits of like, okay, yeah, maybe prioritizing this is going to help me. So we'll start with menstruation. What a good time of the month. Like, let's celebrate when our uterus literally sheds. This is when estrogen and progesterone levels drop and says, hey, it's time to shed the lining. This time might make you feel tired mentally, physically, before or during, and it often causes like pain sensitivities. So if you already have any chronic injuries, you might notice during your menstrual phase, like, oh yeah, my back actually hurts quite a bit. And like these other injuries that maybe you're dealing with, I know not many of you have some, but they just start to heighten. Best thing you can do during your menstruation phase is honor your body by slowing down and like actually tuning in. So kind of like we just did, like, okay, how am I feeling in this moment? Giving yourself the opportunity to slow down and move to a pace that isn't going against what your body is doing because it's going through a lot. And what this doesn't mean is taking a week off from the gym. Movement is actually very helpful. So instead of the heavy lifting, like I shared my win these last 2 weeks, like I'm lifting super heavy, probably not during your menstrual phase. I would say same program, but lift lighter. I know many women will be like, no, I'm bleeding right now. Like I can't go to the gym. And a lot of that, a lot of the time, it is a mindset. We see things online on Instagram that's like, take that week off, girl. Like you deserve it. But in reality, the best way to honor your body is to continue with your habits that you know serve you. So lifting lighter, same program, adding in maybe another yoga class or a Pilates class, doing some embodied dancing. So you're still moving, but you're feeling more connected to your body. If it's warm where you are, walks, bike rides, skating. If it's cold, I know so many of us are dealing with cold weather right now. This is the best way to honor your body from a fitness standpoint during your menstruation phase. Foods, which will just help you feel better while you're bleeding, would be iron rich because we're bleeding. And I know maybe Pat hears this and he's like, ah, well, but it's true. Like we literally bleed every single month. So if we're losing that iron, what do we want to do? We want to replenish it. We want to eat lentils, beans, tofu, spinach, red meat, if you do eat red meat. Vitamin C is a really, really good source to help us absorb the iron better. So like citrus, berries, bell peppers, omega for the inflammation, which you can take an omega supplement, or if you eat fish like salmon, sardines, chia seeds are really, really great. Anything that's easy to digest. So this is a really good time to have soups and stews and like oats and bone broth. Like it's a little bit easier on your belly. Magnesium rich, that's another one too. So I know some of you, you're already taking magnesium to help with your sleep. So what that does is it actually just like relaxes everything. And during our menstrual phase, we might have these cravings for things like dark chocolate and like leading up to it, or maybe not dark chocolate all the time, but we do crave chocolate. And it's like, okay, why do I crave chocolate during my menstrual phase? And it's because one, the magnesium, because we know that it will help, but two, the flavonoids. When we're losing blood, we need to somehow replenish through iron and through magnesium. So dark chocolate, if you have anything in your mind that's like, no, I'm not allowed to have dark chocolate, like chocolate is bad, that is a label that you put to food. I eat chocolate every single day. And I'm not telling you to eat an entire bar, but like one piece of 70+% dark chocolate can actually really help you during your menstrual phase. And then, of course, we've got leafy greens, pumpkin seeds. So that's menstruation. If you have any questions, again, leave them to the end unless you want to scream something from the rooftops. But we're going to move into our follicular phase. So, follicular phase, this is when estrogen comes back up and it tells our uterine lining is like, okay, time to grow back. Isn't it wild what our bodies go through as women? And FSH also stimulates the ovaries to prepare for ovulation. So, one of the reasons I'll add in here why it's so important to know what phase of your cycle that you're in is because our hormones, they're changing constantly. And like when we're in our menstrual phase and when progesterone is going down and estrogen's going down, like that's going to impact how we feel motivation wise. Like, I don't want to go to the gym all the time. And that's when we have to tap into the discipline. So, this follicular phase, stimulating the ovaries, it's like, okay, it's preparing us for ovulation. Like, we might feel like more excited during this time when our estrogen is going up. It's when your energy is the highest, you feel really, really strong. And so, what to prioritize during your follicular phase is heavy lifts at the gym. If you know, okay, it's follicular, like things are going up, I'm going to try to go for the PR. I'm going to push myself more than I normally would. This is also a really good time to prioritize other things outside of the gym in your life. Like if you've got important meetings or presentations or maybe like vacations. I know sometimes when I'm planning a trip, I'm like, okay, I probably don't want to go during my menstrual cycle because I'm not just naturally going to feel as good in a bikini on the beach. So you can really, when you start to track your cycle, you can plan your life around it. When it comes to foods, we want to be eating lean proteins. So this is like your eggs, your Greek yogurt, fish, chicken, legumes, beans, fresh fruits and vegetables, berries, apples. And this is kind of the foods, of course, you want to be eating most of the time. I go by that 80-20 rule where it's like a lot of the whole foods, vegetables, fermented foods are really good for estrogen metabolism and digestion. Complex carbs, things like quinoa, oats, sweet potatoes, they're just like full of fiber. And then our healthy fats, which are always going to be in there, like olive oil, avocado oil. So that's your follicular phase. Then we move into like the best time ever, which is our ovulation phase. This is when we're like superwoman. So ovulation is when estrogen just goes up even more. And then the brain releases our LH, luteinizing hormone, and FSH continues to go up and up and up. This is when we're like, I can do literally anything. I'm feeling sensual. Like your sex drive is way up. This is from a biological standpoint, if you're trying to make babies, when you would do it, because your body is like, oh yeah, feeling it, right? So your energy is there during ovulation, similar to follicular, but you'll feel the difference even more once you start tracking is when you go to the gym and you're like, yeah, we're going to continue lifting heavy and like push even more if I can. HIIT workouts, you might be like, oh, that's actually fun instead of maybe the mindset that's like, oh, I don't want to go in there and like do a Tabata style training. Like they might feel fun, kickboxing, running, rowing during this phase of your cycle, which is it's quite short, but you can really, really utilize just how your hormones are helping you come in with energy. And there's always a downside because we're women. You might experience pain and bloating. It's women dependent. And I also want to say, like, you might see these and you're like, but that's not me. Like, I don't feel that. All of us are unique and wonderful and amazing and different human beings. You might not experience it exactly like this. I'm probably like dramatizing it a little bit. You might experience pain as the egg releases. You might have some bloating, and that is normal. And that's where you honor your body. I know, like, I sometimes feel that. I'm like, okay, for one day, like, I don't feel great. I'm really bloated right now. But then the other days, I'm good. Now next, foods. So lots of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts. These, honestly, they might not be vegetables that you feel like you can eat all the time because depending on where your hormones are, they might make you feel more bloated. They might make you feel more gassy. They might not digest in a way. I know during like luteal phase or menstruation phase, your digestion sometimes gets a little bit confused, but during ovulation, it's like, nope, things are running a lot more smoothly. High fiber foods, beans, lentils, same thing. You might notice during certain parts of the month, you get really gassy from these things. Lots of antioxidant rich foods, which is just going to help with your immune system and like keeping you kind of like up leveling while your estrogen is up leveling too. And then lots of zinc rich foods like pumpkin, shellfish, chickpeas. For cravings, during your ovulation, you might notice that your appetite's low because your estrogen's high and your energy's so high. Do not skip meals during this time. Even if your appetite's down and you're like, okay, maybe this is good for my deficit. It's so important to just like stay consistent with your food through every single phase of the cycle. Because if we get into that yo-yo dieting, that's when we're kind of playing against ourselves. And one, we already have our hormones kind of doing that. But then if we are doing that with our food too, it can really backfire. So just try to keep steady with your intake and especially protein so you don't have a luteal phase crash. And now the last phase, the luteal phase. This is, I always look at it and I'm like, I don't like it. It's not a good one. It doesn't normally feel that good. It's before we get our menstrual cycle, the follicle that release the egg during ovulation, it lowers our estrogen, which like we wish we could just feel that estrogen all the time and feel so good. And then it increases our progesterone, which normally is where we start to feel really emotional. And we're like, oh my goodness, everything is really hard. And we're like preparing to bleed. Like, what a mix of being a human. And the change in your hormones, it might make you cramp, mood swings. We've all heard of PMS, heightened emotional sensitivity. When you're in your luteal phase, when you're low energy, this is actually such a good time to focus on like your monthly massage, using your benefits. Go get a massage, rolling out, recovery, very gentle yoga like yin yoga, tai chi. I'm not saying here that you shouldn't follow your program, but again, tuning into your body and seeing like, okay, what do I really need right now? Like this might be a good week for me to go and get a massage and like chill out and do something different like swimming or water aerobics or yoga. This is an incredible time to do it. The best foods that you can have, and you'll hear me screaming from the rooftops as you get to know me more, is protein, 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 protein at every single meal. Eggs, poultry, fish, tofu, cottage cheese. You guys know your protein sources. Complex carbs, magnesium rich foods to like prepare yourself for your bleed, and vitamin B6, like bananas, chickpeas, salmon, and then lots of the anti-inflammatory things. What can be helpful for cravings? It normally means like if you have cravings, it's like, okay, I either need more carbs or more calories, not less. We have been programmed in so many ways to think that carbs are bad. And I don't think that here. I feel like Pat's done a really good job of being like, yeah, carbs, it's actually fuel. It's a good fuel source. So making sure that you're just pairing your carbs with your protein and with your fat to reduce any sugar binges that could occur later on. And now menopause. So menopause, I have a pretty picture up here. I can't see it because I'm covering it. This happens in our early 40s to mid 50s. I'm not here. Many of you aren't there, but we will all get there if you aren't already. Listening to this, tuning into this, it'll just be helpful for, what you can know later on when you do arrive. What happens is our body produces less estrogen and progesterone, and then it's an increase in FSH and LH. This change can take you for a wild ride, causing irregular periods, vaginal dryness, that hot flashes we all hear about, night sweats, sleep problems, mood changes. So while you're navigating menopause and everything that comes with it, you got to still prioritize your exercise. So getting at least 150 minutes of like moderate intensity exercise, trying not to push it too much while your hormones are kind of moving through it. Strength training is so, so important for your bone health. Many of you, I mean, you're doing this already. Pelvic floor strengthening, things like bridges, Kegels, yoga, core work, and then, of course, following our programs here, which are sustainable long term. Nutrition. So, as we get older and as estrogen declines, we lose muscle a lot faster. So, making sure that you have 30 to 35 grams of protein per meal is a non negotiable. So, when you're building your meals, when you're either taking photos or tracking in MyFitnessPal, making sure, okay, there's 30 grams of protein here, there's 100 grams of whatever protein source. That's a meal. If it doesn't have that much, I would not, as your coach, consider that a meal. So making sure you have that protein, this will help with insulin resistance and increased or decreasing cravings. And then anti-inflammatory for your joint health and your brain function, because estrogen, it just increases the inflammation that's going on in your brain. And then finally, smart carbs. So don't go into any of the extremes of like, no, low carb this or any of the like very simple sugars, but keeping neutral with your carbs kind of spread out throughout the day. Because, yeah, if you remove them completely, it's just going to mess with your sleep and cortisol and cravings. So that's menopause. When it comes to tracking your cycle, which I would love, if you're not already doing it, for every single one of you to do, download Flow or the Stardust app. They're free. You can get an Aura ring if you'd like to actually make an investment into like knowing more about your cycle. Costs money. And then there's other apps for those who might be conceiving or thinking about conceiving, like Natural Cycles and then the Temp Drop app. And that is everything that I actually have for you guys today. So I'll stop sharing. I'm curious if you have any questions. Thank you so much for listening.